Okay, so today I want to talk about a very amazing movie that I just saw maybe like a couple weeks ago, and it is Suspicion, right here. So it was released in 1941, directed by the great and only genius that I know and love, Alfred Hitchcock. And it was a double feature that I was able to experience. It was in 35 millimeter, which is a crazy, amazing way to experience a movie nowadays, at a theater in LA called New Bev Cinema. And that was really cool. So I went and I saw it was a double feature. So the first one that played was actually Suspicion. From the very beginning, I was so enthralled by it. And just to tell you a little bit of the synopsis, if you don't know anything about it, just like I didn't know anything about it, I went into it blind, obviously still with some expectations, but I think my only expectations were it was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, which I've seen a good amount of films by him already, which, I mean, from the beginning, I had already cemented in my heart. This is a guy that I love. This is a guy that I want to get to be more familiar with his filmography. And yeah, from there on, I feel like every year I've been very fortunate enough to be able to watch more of his movies and deepen my love for him. And also, it's not just that I'm watching movies. I'm also, I don't know, very privileged to be able to watch him usually on a big screen. Last year I was able to watch, just a little side story, last year I was able to watch 3 of his movies on the big screen in Monrovia at a look-in theater. And then now I'm seeing that, I'm following a lot more pages too of like different indie theaters in LA, and New Bev, like I mentioned, was one that was playing a double feature. It was in the middle of the week. It was perfect at a very reasonable price. And so I was like, I have to check it out. And both of those I hadn't seen and I knew nothing about. So I also went in blind. And I think that because of that, it actually made me love it that much more. So just a little synopsis about it is it stars the charming, amazing, very handsome Cary Grant. But it also stars Joan, right here maybe, Joan Fontaine, which, if you don't know, she's starred in another film from Hitchcock, which was the year before, which was in Rebecca, which I also own but have not yet seen. I bought that one on Criterion last year when there was like a sale going on. So I was like, I have to get it. It's on my like ones that I wanted to buy. So I was like, I have to just buy it. And, you know, 50% off, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up getting it. I haven't seen it. I want to check it out really soon. And I think that this movie, I don't know if I should have done it the other way around, but I love this movie and it made me fall in love with her as well. So again, just a brief synopsis of the movie. So the movie stars them and it follows Fontaine's character, Lena, who ends up being, at first I thought it was going to go very like different directions. At first I thought it was going to be like her being a very intelligent, strong woman, which is something that if you're familiar with Hitchcock films, it's the very much thing that I love about his movies. His movies, I feel like, are ahead of its time, especially the woman in his films. They always play not your typical leaning into too much femininity. And that's kind of like the first time that we see her character, Lena, she's in a train, she's reading a book, and you just start to imagine like, oh my gosh, she's going to be like the person that maybe Cary Grant, the charming guy, ends up pursuing her, like a cat and dog kind of chase, and she's like the cat, mysterious, but it takes like a quick turn, and you start to realize that she's actually a very young woman that's very shy, she's very sheltered. And there's actually the scene where she's like walking and she overhears her parents talking about her, and they said how she's pretty much going to be a splinter, and that must be so difficult for her to hear. You know, I can only imagine someone like hearing that and wanting to pursue love and wanting to get married or having that goal or like being in touch with that romantic side of them as well. And she ends up crossing paths very early on in the film with Cary Grant's character, who is Johnny. And I think that things just turn really quickly, where you start to see that she wants to lean and fall in love with someone, and that someone being Johnny. And like how then during that time I actually I was thinking to myself, like, maybe it's not going to be like how he is pursuing her and that she's the mysterious type. Maybe it's going to be because there's scenes where she starts to become very anxious because she's allowed herself to enter like this space of like love and romance, and he's become more avoidant. So I was like, is this going to be like the story of anxious person trying to pursue an avoidant person? Which I thought, oh, that's going to be really interesting to see that with Alfred Hitchcock's touch. So yeah, I was really excited. I was, again, like very just captivated from the very beginning, not knowing where it was going to go. And then again, like it just keeps going, moving forward. And then you start learning more and more information. And then you start seeing like their actual love and the romance. And I don't want to give anything away, but obviously it's titled Suspicion for a reason. And as it progresses, you see that she starts to catch things about Johnny, the person that she ends up actually marrying, and things that start to, I guess, like plant little seeds of doubt, of wonder, of caution. And she's kind of like, I don't know if this is a person that I actually know and I can trust fully. And at first she is. I think what's so interesting is that at first, and there's many themes to the movies, which I love. I love that a relationship that isn't founded truly on love can lead to easily being mistrusted or overlooking. But also I think that it can also speak on the other side of like how love can be so blinding, because at the beginning she's so blinded or overtaken by love and being loved that she's kind of dismissing all this like reckless behavior of Johnny, because he's extremely charming, but he's also very reckless with money. He's irresponsible. He's a gambler. He's an extremely impulsive liar. There's just many character flaws and faults. And like I mentioned, he has like a vice for gambling. So her being someone that is more well off, I guess, because of her inheritance that's going to come, her money, she starts to even doubt whether or not he loves her for who she is, or if he just married her for what she's soon to receive, which is the inheritance. And then she starts to even suspect what he's capable of doing, which I think is really interesting. And the way that Alfred Hitchcock does it, a very beautiful, elegant way, because you also get to be in her POV, which a lot of the times you see the frame of like Johnny's facial expressions and how like he's super charming, super smiley, but then like you also see something behind his eyes, or you see like his smile fade, and you start to wonder yourself, like, is this all just a front? Is this a facade? Is there a bigger, I guess, like agenda at play right now? And is it love or is it not love? Does he feel the same way about her that she feels for him? A fun fact is that this is a movie that was based on a book that was published in 1932 titled Before the Facts. And I don't remember the author, but I do want to read the book, because the things that I read about that book was that it's very much more clear who Johnny's character is. In the film, it's a lot more ambiguous. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of doubt. And I love that for the film, but I already got that in the film. So I think that what I love and what I'm going to go and seek from the actual book, the novel, is that her character is still in love with him. And I think that's so interesting too, because I think there's so many things that we ourselves do or dismiss because of our love, like there's certain things that we should, allow, to pass by, I guess. But there's certain things that I do think that even because you love them, should not allow them or dismiss that certain type of behavior, quality, characteristic. And that's going to be really interesting to read it on paper. So that's a little bit of that. But I do know, and I think it's so interesting how Alfred Hitchcock, once he read the book, he knew that he wanted to make the movie, but he also had said in an interview, I don't know which interview, I don't know where it's at, but I saw the quote that he said that as soon as he finished the book, that he knew that it was going to be one that when he made the movie, the ending was going to have to be different. And the whole thing, which is unfortunate, because Alfred Hitchcock, something that I also love about him so much, is that all his movies are filled with the twist and a turn, and again, just captivating scene by scene, moving along, and like you just don't know where it's gonna go, what's gonna happen, and it builds to a climax, and even then you're like thrown around with like a twist. And I feel like with this one, they kind of had to play it safe. So I did a lot of research on like why the ending was the ending. I know that a lot of people, a lot of critics at its time, and a lot of viewers now, when they watch Suspicion, they are left with the longing of like, I wish it was darker. I wish it would have been more clear. I wish it would have been like this. And I think it was a movie that at its time, again, way ahead of its time. It's very different. It's still very ambiguous. I think the interpretation that a lot of people have with this movie is that it's very clear what happens. Like, oh, well, I guess this, which I'm not going to say what, but I don't think that it's that clear. I actually think it's left for us to interpret how it is. Like, there's so many things, so many questions that we're asking along this like journey, this ride, being in Lena's mind and POV and perceiving. Are we ourselves perceiving Johnny's character with truth, or is there some sort of like, because of the doubt, because of the lies that he has done and was confronted with, that has shaped us to even believe that he can do something even more? Hey, what's up? So that video was a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be more concise and be like under 10 minutes, but it was not. So I think that I'm going to have to cut it into two parts. I'm really, really sorry about that. For like just going off topic so many times. But yeah, so thank you guys for bearing with me, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.